Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Premier Injuries Daily Roundup. Lots to talk about, lots of team involved in a second game this week. In fact, we'll kick off there first with Aston Villa because they've got a Tuesday night match at Villa Park against Liverpool. We have heard from Steven Gerrard, and we were hoping to have Jacob Ramsey back in the Villains squad ahead of that game. He pulled out of training on Thursday with a groin problem. Now, Steven Gerrard said he won't recover in time. We're expecting that Villa squad to be more or less the same as Saturday, but Jacob Ramsey shouldn't be too far away, and there's a possibility that he could return in game week 37. For Liverpool, practically a clean bill of health. Roberto Firmino was training ahead of the Tottenham game, spent 2 days with the group, but Jurgen Klopp thought that would be better for him to continue training throughout the weekend, and therefore he wasn't involved in the matchday squad just to improve those fitness levels and keep some of that sharpness. So there's a strong possibility that he may make the game on Tuesday evening, but unlikely that he's going to start. So elsewhere, Wednesday night's game. Now, we will be having a load of press conferences on Tuesday, so we might get a chance to update, provide another video. If not, there will be updates through at Ben Dinnery on Twitter or premierinjuries.com, our injury table, as always. But just a couple of take-home messages from the weekend. Jess Marsh was talking about the absence of Luke Ayling. His season's over for his dismissal against Arsenal. That's a 3-match ban, so that keeps him out. Talking about the possibilities of players coming in at right back. Jamie Shackleton is probably the obvious one that can slot straight in there, but he also referenced the possibility of Raphinha dropping a little bit deeper. Now, that would probably mean a slight tweak in formation. Otherwise, he did discuss the possibility of moving a centre-back across into that right back space. So we'll wait and see what happens. Of course, Leeds entertain Chelsea, and they do really need to get some points on the board with that Everton win yesterday. For Chelsea, Marcus Alonso, his withdrawal at the weekend at half-time, that was a tactical switch, so there was no injury there, which is good news in the grand scheme of things. Bad news if you were an Alonso owner, and for a time there it looked as if you're going to hold on for a clean sheet until Wolves came back with 2 late goals. Leicester City, there was a few absences from their matchday squad on Sunday. Of course, they played in Rome on the Thursday night, which messed things up with regards to a press conference. A lot of frustrated FPL managers, considering they looked at those Leicester assets with what appeared on paper to be 2 decent fixtures. Now, the first one to address was James Maddison. He's not a player that I had in my predicted 11. That hip issue has flared up, but also he picked up a little bit of a hamstring problem on Thursday night. Now, Brendan Rodgers hasn't ruled him out of the game on Wednesday, so there's still a strong possibility that he could feature elsewhere. James Justin, he had an awkward fall in Rome early on. He did manage to complete 90 minutes, but Brendan Rodgers confirms that he actually suffered a dislocation of his shoulder. Now, whether he plays in any of those remaining fixtures remains to be seen, so it's touch and go with regards to that. And Ricardo Pereira, he was also absent from the matchday squad, picked up an injury in Rome, so that 1-0 loss, which sent him out of the competition, really did come at a cost. Now, there's no specific information with regards to Ricardo Pereira, but again, it's questionable in Brendan Rodgers' words whether he'll actually return this season. Elsewhere, Norwich, not much change in the Norwich camp. Not that any FPL manager realistically will be gravitating towards any of those players. It looks as if they're going to go down without much of a whimper because, they got a bit of a 4-0 drubbing off West Ham, and that could have been a lot more even by Dean Smith's own admission. For Everton, the 2 main talking points: Yerry Mina forced off early doors in and around that 20th minute mark. Now, that's a calf problem. We've had lots of soft tissue muscular problems for Yerry Mina. Undoubtedly a big player for the Toffees, but you cannot keep him fit. Now, this latest setback relates to his calf. They're going to have that scanned on Monday. So as of the time of recording, we don't have any further updates. Frank Lampard hopes that it isn't a high-grade tear, which would certainly end his season. So watch this space. The other injury concern, as it were, was Mylenko. They're hoping that was just fatigue-related cramp. If that's the case, you have a really strong chance of returning on Wednesday. If it's anything more sinister with regards to maybe a pull or a slight strain, then I would say maybe John Joe Kenny coming back into that Everton lineup. They've been unchanged in the last two off back-to-back wins. Manchester City, they're travelling to Molineux, very much in the driving seat now for that Premier League title, but they've had some big news with regards to defensive setbacks. Kyle Walker aggravated an ankle ligament problem in the Champions League. So that's ended his campaign. And also Pep had taken a risk on John Stones returning from a hamstring problem. And again, that setback or recurrence that has also put him out for the season. And Ruben Dias, he returned in April from a 6 week spell on the sidelines. And he was forced off at half-time against Newcastle. That's a hamstring-related issue again. So that's going to keep him out for the remaining games. Now, we have seen Nathan Ake in the matchday squad, but he's been unused, and that relates to an ankle issue that he picked up at Leeds, so he certainly isn't 100%. And in fact, Pep thinks that it's unrealistic that he will only start midweek, and possibly game week 37, he may be in contention. Otherwise, it's going to be a case of Pep's going to have to probably just go with the likes of maybe Laporte. He did reference Jan Cancelo can play in there, or even Zinchenko. And he did even talk about an academy player, but I think that's highly unlikely at this stage. For Arsenal, now the North London derby, they play Tottenham. That's not until Thursday. We saw Bukayo Saka looked as if he was walking a little bit gingerly when he was replaced on Sunday. That was played down by Mikel Arteta. Again, that was fatigue related, so nothing major with regards to that. We've seen that in recent games. So this is a problem, again, that's just being managed, and they just want to keep on top of that. Tomiyasu came through that encounter at the weekend without any major problems. And also the one player that they will need to check ahead of the North London derby is Ben White. He had took part in aspects of training ahead of Sunday. They're hoping to be fully integrated by maybe Tuesday or Wednesday to give him a really strong chance of starting. Elsewhere, we've just heard from confirmation from Burnley interim boss Mike Jackson that Matej Vydra actually ruptured his ACL, his anterior cruciate ligament, whilst playing at Vicarage Road. I think that was game week 35. Now, he'd done that fairly early doors, played through the pain barrier, completed 90 minutes. He wasn't withdrawn until time added on. In fact, he even provided the assist for Josh Brownhill, which was the winner, so 2-1. But unfortunately, Matej Vydra looks to spend several months on the sidelines. He may not replay again in this calendar year, but the fact that he got through that game is quite remarkable, really, given the severity of that injury. Some of the other key talking points of the weekend: West Ham. All three substitutes at Carrow Road were enforced. The first one, Mikel Antonio, that was a hip issue. We've seen Craig Dawson go off with a calf problem, and then also side Ben Dinnery, and that was an ankle issue. Now, thankfully, none of those appear to be too serious. David Moyes said all three players would be checked, but again, like I say, I don't think any of those are any major worries ahead of game week 37. Or Newcastle, my team, of course, on the receiving end of that 5-0 drubbing from Manchester City. We made 3 changes to that lineup. Fabian Shaw was one that we knew about, had a foot problem from that James Milner challenge against Liverpool. X-rays cleared of any fracture, but hadn't trained, and therefore Jamal Lascelles come into that team to partner Dan Burn. But the 2 omissions that we weren't privy to prior to those teams being announced, one was John Joe Shelvey. Now, it looks as if his season's over. Eddie Howe said the calf problem that he's suffered is very similar to the one that hampered him at the beginning of the campaign. And also now Joe Willock, he's been managing a knee issue for maybe 4 to possibly 6 weeks. With our top flight status, secured. I think it's now time to take Joe Willock out of the firing line, and he may not play in any of those games. And that's pretty much about it for now. Like I say, we will have a load of press conferences on Tuesday, which we'll cover. So hopefully any of the key updates and major news, we will get that fired out as quickly as possible. If you have any questions, please pop them in the box below.